Hello, everyone. Welcome to Growth, powered by FareHarbor. Today, we're celebrating International Women's Day by highlighting inspiring women in tourism who have built and led their businesses with passion, resilience, and innovation. Throughout this episode, you'll hear from some incredible female entrepreneurs who have turned their dreams into thriving tourism operations, sharing their journeys, challenges, and giving some great advice. With that said, this is one of my favorite recordings we've done so far. I can't wait for you to hear it. Let's go ahead and dive in. And this wonderful guest is Paulina. Paulina, how are you doing today?
Hello, Rebekah. Good morning. I know you're in snowy Colorado, but I am in beautiful, sunny San Juan, Puerto Rico. Hello.
Kaija Pack. Kaija, how are you doing today? I'm so excited to have you on today.
I'm fabulous. Thank you for asking. How are you, Rebekah?
I'm doing great. I'm just so excited to have Margit and Amy here from Walk and Eat Spain. Thank you so much for being here. How are you both doing today?
Really good. Great. Thank you.
We have Tanya McCready here. Hello, Tanya. How's it going?
It's wonderful, Rebekah. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Kate, thank you for being here. Kate with Coast Watersports. How are you doing today?
Very good, Rebekah. Thank you so much for inviting me on today.
Could you tell our listeners a little bit about you and a little bit about your business, Food in Puerto Rico?
Of course. So, everyone, hi, Paulina from San Juan, Puerto Rico, originally though from Poland, grew up in New York, but I've been living in Puerto Rico for almost 20 years. I fell in love with the island, its people, its culture, and its food. And my husband and I started Spoon about 12 years ago. So we operate a culinary tourism company here on the island. We do food tours, cooking classes, cocktail tours. We also produce culinary events here. We also do some travel planning for our guests. So a little bit of everything in the, culinary and tourism space here on the island. And what better way to find out about a destination than through its food? I mean, nowadays when I travel, I'm like, okay, great. I have my museums, there's the art, we love art, but where are we going to eat? Okay. Like, who are we going to connect with, and where are we going to go for delicious food, regional food? So it's just a great way.
And how did you, I was lucky enough to speak with your husband, Gustavo, at Spark New Orleans, who was one of our panelists at a food tour panel, which was, I'd argue, I'm a little biased because I was the moderator, but, excuse me, I'd argue that it was one of our best panels that we had at Spark. And it ran over in time by, I think, a half hour, maybe 45 minutes, because people they had so many questions, and they were so inspired by the things that our panelists, but especially your husband, had to say about Spoon and his experience in the food tour space. What was the inspiration in starting Spoon? What made you want to start with food? And why do you feel that food is such a direct connection to a community and to a culture, especially one like so lively and wonderful like the Puerto Rican culture?
Yeah. So somebody mentioned I'm not originally from Puerto Rico, but when I came here, I really got immersed in the culture. I wanted to get to know the island, so I started traveling the island, meeting people, local entrepreneurs, meeting local business owners, and I also another thing that kind of goes into why food. So a little personal thing. So my mother-in-law, when we moved back, when Gustavo moved back, and I moved here with him, she was undergoing back surgery, and we were living with them at the time. And I had to be the one that would cook. So I would assist in the cooking for the family. And she would go step by step and teach me about, okay, Paulina, here's ají dulce, which are, small, sweet peppers that go into the sofrito, which is the base, of all Puerto Rican cooking. It's this really flavorful base that's got the sofrito. And she's like, okay, go outside and grab some recao. It's a leaf. And, go grab some oregano, and then that's how I kind of, and she's like, okay, smell it, and now taste it, and then add some calabaza, and then add some pumpkin, and then we're going to make a guiso, and then we're going to make a piñón, and this. And then I kind of really like jumped right into that. So that, I would say, that sparked my love for food. And in Puerto Rican families, food is such a big part of the culture. That's where everybody ends up. Even if it's tiny kitchen, you have like 20 family members, you have the aunt, the uncle, the cousins, the kids, everyone ends up in the kitchen around that olla and tasting, and just it's such a beautiful, beautiful part. And we kind of took it from there. And then our friends would come visit Puerto Rico, and we would take them around. And then we kind of said one day, like, let's try this out. Maybe we can make a business out of it. And we kind of did it without, there was no business plan, right? Like, we started everything and did everything from the accounting to social media to responding to those TripAdvisor reviews and answering the calls and giving the tours. And that's how Gustavo and I started Spoon. Now, when you think about, doing the business, and after all these programs that Gustavo and I have, been through, he did 10KSB with FAFSA. I did some other programs. We did some local ones, which are Grupo Guayacán. We're like, no, there's other ways to doing it. But you know what? In a way, it's kind of good because we kind of just jumped in and we did it. And then Spoon has evolved to this beautiful company that it is today. And we have amazing tour guides that live and breathe Puerto Rico, and they are so passionate about what they do, and they are storytellers. It's so much more than just, we say we don't give tours, we create experiences and memorable, lasting memories for all our clients.
A quirky fact. Okay, so I'm quirky, period. But okay, so a little bit about me. My name is Kaija Pack. I am a Detroit native. So I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. Kind of lived in multiple states. Ended up in Houston, Texas by default. And that's where the birth of Break Life happened. And so I am the founder and CBO. So I say that I'm a CBO. I'm not a CEO. And we'll explain that later in the podcast, what that means. Just kind of trying to be a trailblazer in my own way. But Break Life was created 3 years ago. And Break Life is what I call our alternative and destructive therapy. So we try to dispel the myth that men and women can't be angry. And we like to accept the fact that men and women are angry, and we want a place where they can go be angry in a judgment-free zone. So we've created something that no one else has done. Not that rage rooms aren't, that industry isn't, how can I say it, happening, but it's that we've taken it in a more innovative way, right? So Break Life is in Houston, Texas. It's in the inner city of Houston, and that's where all of our customers come from. We mainly get a lot of tourists, people coming in looking for different things to do, and that is there.
Well, my name is Margit, and I am originally from the Seattle area. I've been living in Madrid since 2007. I love food and wine, and that's why I got involved in this. A fun fact about me is that my first job after college was actually at a store called the Spanish Table in Seattle. So I studied international relations and Spanish, and I was having a hard time finding a job after college. And I was taking a walk one day, and I saw a sign in a store that said, "The Spanish Table. Must speak Spanish, love food, please apply inside." And I walked in and I said to the person, "I love food and I speak Spanish, por favor." And they said, "Could you start tomorrow at 9?" And so my first job after college was selling cheese and ceramics from Spain in a wonderful little store in Seattle. And that was one of the beginnings of my Spain journey.
It's adorable. And I love the spunk. I love the moxie of being like, "Por favor, I speak it."
Absolutely.
Amy, you're up.
All right. So I was born in Tucson, Arizona, and lived in 5 different states in the United States, really tested them all out. And then came over to Spain here about 12 years ago now, which it's still crazy to think that it's been 12 years already. But Madrid is very much one of those cities where I moved here after a year of living in northern Spain in a little village, and really thought I was only going to be here for 1 year. Told my mom, "I'm just going to learn Spanish, then I'll come back, don't worry." But 1 year didn't feel like enough, and 1 year became 2, and I was like, no, maybe just 1 more year. And after about 6 years of that, I vividly remember the phone call where my mom just sort of paused for a moment, and she said, "You're not coming back to the States, are you?" And I was like, I'm sorry, Mom, but I'm not. And she was like, okay, your dad was right. Madrid is definitely one of those cities that draws you in. It's the best city in the world to live in, and a really spectacular city to visit as well. Now, my fun fact, I'm trying to think. This is a hard question. Usually I'm much better at fun facts, but I'm kind of drawing a blank today.
I think it's a pretty fun fact that you moved to a totally different country, didn't intend to stay, and then here you are, however many years later. I think that's pretty fun. I think when I think of fun, that's what I think of.
Yeah.
So where we're located, that's the easy one. So we're in Haliburton, Ontario. So about 3 hours north of Toronto and about 3 hours west of Ottawa, just because Haliburton's a very, very small dot on the map. And our business is Winterdance dog sled tours. So we started this 25 years ago this winter, actually. And a fun fact, people usually talk about our dogs. So we don't meet many people that have more pets than us. We have 125 dogs, 6 cats, and 1 rabbit.
125 dogs. That's a lot of good boys and good girls. That is a lot.
It's an amazing family, absolutely.
Oh, how do you find these animals? How do you expand your family like that?
Yeah, I mean, this all started, I guess, over 30 years ago when we literally walked into a pet store. We were still living in the city, and I was going to the University of Guelph, and fell in love with a silly Siberian Husky puppy and made the decision to add her to our family. We just got married, and one thing led to another. We got a second one to keep her company, and then saw a movie about dog sledding and added a third and a fourth to try dog sledding. And then by the time we left the city, we were up to 7, and our dogs had gone, or our lives had gone to the dogs, and we had tried dog sledding and just fell in love with it and decided to turn our love and our passion for our dogs into a business. So from there, we went from 7 to 42. So we bought and adopted dogs from different bloodlines, different kennels. So we had a lot of diversity. And then from there, puppies, obviously. And then we've rescued and adopted, I've lost track of how many, and it's over 50 dogs since then. And when they come here, whether they're born, adopted, rescue, they have a home for life. So we don't sell dogs, don't adopt them out. They're our family.
That's incredible. I love that. Do you know them all by name? Like, could you see one of those 125 and know exactly who that dog is?
Absolutely. And I mean, a lot of people are always shocked that they all have names and that we know them. But as I say, you easily know 125 friends, family, coworkers that you could name. And they're all of that for us. So even when somebody comes to work for us, we say you have 2 weeks to know all the dogs. Now, we've never fired anyone because they can't do that, but it's amazing how many of them they will know in 2 weeks because we spend our days with them.
I was a very good little tap dancer. So my superpower, I think, as a kid was loose ankles, and it made me a really good tap dancer, which I didn't bring into my adulthood life, but very much enjoyed it as a kid. But now have terrible ankles. But background for me really would be grew up in Perth and then came over to the Gold Coast when I was 18. I've always loved the idea of working in small businesses and watching their growth. And so that's what I did really from my 20s to 30s is jumped around a couple of small businesses and watched how they were run. And then as I got a little bit older, thought that it would be something that I would like to do myself is just to, have my own business and I guess, working for somebody else I just used to find it tough as I was getting older, working for someone else, thinking how differently I might be doing things. And so, that's kind of where I am today. I've got a family, my partner Kai, who I run Gold Coast Watersports with, and then also my 2 beautiful boys, 15 and 6. So
a boy mom, how fun.
Yes, I've got 5 sisters, so never wanted any girls. And I was very happy with my two healthy baby boys. So yes.
Oh, that is so fun. Oh my gosh, to be a young boy, and my mom has so much water toys for us to go play with on the weekends. I cannot imagine the homework that I would not do, or the homework I would do if it was like, you can hop on a jet ski if you do your math.
Yes, I tend to not be a homework kind of mum, which isn't the greatest as they get older. But I've never really loved, school myself. So I'm definitely not a homework mum. We are more
Oh,
the outdoor.
how fun. You're not like other moms, you're a cool mom. That's awesome.
I don't know. I think it's good for them when they're little, but yeah, we're trying to grow. Now I'm like, I've got to grow 2 adult men, so that's what I'm working on now.
It's a full-time job.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So you mentioned that you worked in small business growth before you worked at other small businesses, and then you thought, I got to get out and I got to do this myself. I want to be my own boss, which is so commendable. I'm the daughter of 2 small business owners myself. And I've always joked and even said in therapy that my dad's favorite child is his business. So I totally get that. And I totally understand that passion from firsthand experience. I'm curious to know why water sports, what attracted you to that field?
Yeah, it was quite organic, actually. We didn't go into it thinking, we would end up here. But my partner and I, many, many years when we first met, we were just watching the water sports operators out on the water. So we are both water babies at heart. And yeah, we were just having a conversation about what Kai would love to do, and he said he just wanted to be on the water. On the jet skis would be even a bonus. And then I loved the idea of having a business. Kai's parents are business owners, so he grew up understanding what that entailed as well, and also had his own. He then went into the family business too once he was an adult, and then the opportunity came up one day. When we were approached by just a business broker, whether or not water sports is something that we would like to do. And so we met with the old owners, and from then on, what we saw was so much potential. There was a lot of growth that could be made, some changes and tweaks to the business that we saw would be just so beneficial. And we jumped in straight away. And I think Kai's love for the water and his background was in cars, so that kind of translated into the mechanical side for the parasail boat and jet skis and all the water toys as well. So it just seemed to fit us where we were in our life really well, and that's how it came about.
In taking over a business, did any hurdles come up that maybe you didn't expect, and what did those look like?
Absolutely. And I guess not being in the tourism industry at all beforehand, we jumped in blind. We didn't understand the equipment. We didn't understand the rules and regulations. We had no prior training or understanding, which I think at the end of the day ended up being a benefit to us.
It sounds like you were just driven by your passion for the water.
Yeah, it was definitely a passion for, Kai's passion for the water, me for the business side of it. I could see a lot of room for improvement and opportunity for growth, I guess. And also, there were a lot of hurdles, which we will talk about, but it was only hurdles.
I think the biggest hurdles for us personally are being, number one, in the Caribbean, which is a very seasonal market. So I think I share that with a lot of operators that we have a really great high season. We are in February, like we're doing great. Everyone is doing great, right? And then we're going to do really great until I would say the end of spring break around, the Easter holidays. And then summer's still good, and then fall is really, there's like a really big dip. So every year we have a challenge, and we say, we need to do something to mitigate that, right? It's also hurricane season, so we were affected by Hurricane Maria. Just like everyone else, we were affected, by the pandemic. But that time of the year comes, and we need to do better with marketing to locals and creating experiences for locals. And that would definitely be my advice for operators that perhaps focus, if you have cruise ships in your region, don't only focus on cruise ships in your region, because that's also something very seasonal. So tap into the local market that's there all year, instead of just focusing on tourism. Whereas, in Canada, it's kind of, I guess maybe, in North America, it might be a little bit in the, inverse. Like in Canada, summer is their high season, right? And then in the winter, they need to, figure out what they can do to kind of bring those guests. I would say that would be one of our biggest challenges is seasonality and not being able to mitigate that risk quite well. Another thing, that kind of goes into why food. So a little personal thing. So my mother-in-law, when Gustavo moved back and I moved here with him, she was undergoing back surgery, and we were living with them at the time. And I had to be the one that would cook. So I would assist in the cooking for the family. And she would go step by step and teach me about, okay, Paulina, here's ají dulce, which are, small sweet peppers that go into the sofrito, which is the base, of all Puerto Rican cooking. It's this really flavorful base that's got the sofrito. And she's like, okay, go outside and grab some recao. It's a leaf. And, go grab some oregano and then that's how I kind of, and she's like, okay, smell it, and now taste it, and then add some calabaza, and then add some pumpkin, and then we're going to make a guiso, and then we're going to make a piñón, and this. And then I kind of really like jumped right into that. So that, I would say, that sparked my love for food. And in Puerto Rican families, food is such a big part of the culture. That's where everybody ends up. Even if it's tiny kitchen, you have like 20 family members, you have the aunt, the uncle, the cousins, the kids, everyone ends up in the kitchen around that olla and tasting, and just, it's such a beautiful, beautiful part. And we kind of took it from there. And then our friends would come visit Puerto Rico, and we would take them around. And then we kind of said one day, like, let's try this out. Maybe we can make a business out of it. And we kind of did it without, there was no business plan, right? Like, we started everything and did everything from the accounting to social media to responding to those TripAdvisor reviews and answering the calls and giving the tours. And that's how Gustavo and I started Spoon. Now, when you think about, doing the business, and after all these programs that Gustavo and I have, been through, he did 10 KSB with FAPSIN. I did some other programs. We did some local ones, which are Grupo Guayacán. We're like, no, there's other ways to doing it. But you know what? In a way, it's kind of good because we kind of just jumped in and we did it. And then Spoon has evolved to this beautiful company that it is today. And we have amazing tour guides that live and breathe Puerto Rico, and they are so passionate about what they do, and they are storytellers. It's so much more than just, we say we don't give tours, we create experiences and memorable, lasting memories for all our clients.
So I'm a mother of 6. I've had 23 foster children, and I've adopted a child. And then, so I was married 29 years, 8 months, and like 3 days. And I was at my therapist, and I told my therapist that I was pissed off. I was like, I'm pissed off. He didn't ask me permission. Could he die? And I'm left with all these children. And my therapist looked me in the eye, square in my eye. And she said, you're going to have to learn how to cope with it. And it was at that moment, it was an aha moment, when I realized that there's so many men and women that are being told that they need to cope with things that they don't need to. We grow up with men being told, stop crying like a little girl. And we grow up with girls crying, and then you're weak or you're soft. So, and I say that because it's an emotion, right? So I was like, wow, I wanted someone to say, hey, you want to go tear some stuff up? You want to go break some car windows? You want to curse somebody out? Do you want to fight? I wouldn't have done any of those things, but I did need someone to tap into that emotion. And I didn't get that. And when I didn't get it, I realized that a lot of men and women are being told to pray. And don't get me wrong, I definitely believe in the higher power, and I do believe in prayer. But we need to do other things because, prayer without works is dead, right? So we need to do other things. And no one was telling me what to do. No one was telling me how to survive or how to be okay or some coping mechanisms. And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be cool if we had a place where people can go be pissed off? Well, lo and behold, I found out that there were rage rooms all over the world. And so I'm quirky, as you just stated, so way beyond olives. So I made it my mission. I looked up all of the rage rooms that I can find. So there were rage rooms in London, in Amsterdam, Australia. There was a rage room in the UK. There was a rage room in Spain. And I went on a mission, and I went to every single one of those raid rooms, and I met every single owner, and I spoke with them, and they thought I was crazy. I remember when I was in Australia, I flew 36 hours. I caught a train 4 hours. I caught a bus 2 hours. I caught a cab for an hour. And then I had to walk through some water to get to this place. And I was like, this better be the best race room in the world. And then I met with the owner, and he was like, you was crazy enough to come. I'm crazy enough to talk to you. So just trying to find out how they were attacking the raid room. And what I found was that a lot of people are using it as an activity. And it is. However, I am real big into emotional intelligence and to making sure that people display their emotions in a healthy way. So I said, wow, how can we do this different than anybody else in the world? So just kind of start writing and praying about it, and then came up with the fact that we were going to attack it from a mental wellness standpoint. So what we do is we attack it from the fact that once energy is released, it can't be returned, right? And then we allow people to come and be either happy or angry, because sometimes you want to tear things up when you're elated just as much as you want to tear things up when you're angry. So if you pass that test, you're like, oh, I just want to, and if you're like, oh my God, he left me, I can't believe it, and you're all sad, then you want to come tear some stuff up as well, right? So I wanted a place where we can take that emotion, split it in half, and where we can take the people who haven't been deemed bipolar, and we can let them come to our place and express their manic side, right? And so all of us have an angry side, every one of us, no matter who we are, no matter our socioeconomic status, no matter where we were reared, no matter how much money we make, we have an angry side, right? And so Break Life is the place where you can come and you can display that in a very safe, judgment-free zone. And then we've created an environment to not only make you feel welcome and make you feel safe, we create an environment that encourages you to let it out, because it's kind of like Vegas. What goes on in Break Life stays at Break Life.
I think we had a lot of false starts. The world opened up and then closed, and then opened and then closed multiple times throughout 2020 and 2021. And, the spring of 2021 was a time of true optimism. It was like, okay, 2020 is over. We did it. We made it through that crazy, horrible year. It's time to start fresh. It's time to start anew. And then we had, what was it called? Omicron, yeah. I think I've wiped this from my mind. Exactly. So we got all these bookings, and we were like, we're doing it. We're going to have a business. It's going to be awesome. Exactly. And then this next wave of COVID hit, and everything canceled, and everything just went back to zero again. We were both working other jobs at the time. And I think when we decided to, incorporate the business and do the SALA, which is kind of the Spanish version of an LLC, go through that process, we did that kind of full of hope and full of let's see if this will work and let's see what happens, but I'm not going to quit my other job just yet. And we're definitely not going to pay for an office, and startup costs are literally zero because we're working from home, and, we're not even printing anything because the printers are closed because it's still 2021. And so I think from there, we just had to sort of make it up as we went along a lot of ways, and just keep going. And whomever wanted to come to Madrid, we were like, great, let's go do some fun things. And at first that was not very many people. 2021, we did, this many tours, a handful of tours. And then 2022, things just went crazy. And I think just a couple of days ago, Margit and I just kind of looked at each other and we're like, wow, this did work. People do want to travel the way that we believe in travel, and people do connect with what we're doing and connect with our mission and connect with our experiences and really connect with our guides. And to see that is just something that we don't stop and think about enough, I think, is to just take one step back and be like, wow, we built something that we really believe in and that we both really love. And that's really exciting, really overwhelming sometimes, but really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it was Iron Will was the movie, good 1995 Disney movie that got us into this whole mess. And we didn't know anyone that had dog sledded, had never even seen a dog sled team. So for us, a lot of it was trial and error. And I remember the first time we hooked up our 4 huskies, and I got Hank a sled and harnesses for the dogs for Christmas, and thinking that's when America's Funniest Video was a big show. And I'm like, oh, this is perfect, right? The dogs don't know what they're doing. Hank doesn't know what he's doing. And they literally took off and went straight down the field, and he turned them around and came back. It's like, as we say, trying to keep a husky from running is like keeping a lab from jumping in water, or a shepherd guarding, or a collie herding. It's just so instinctual for them. So yeah, we started to get better at dog sledding. And then when we quit our jobs and moved to Halliburton, it was, I look back now and I can understand why our family thought we'd lost our minds, because we had a beautiful home in the city, and I was an engineer and had a good job, and Hank's a millwright and had a good job. And we walked away from all of that to move to the wilderness, and we bought 50 acres of land, built our house, built a kennel for the dogs, and started this business and welcomed a child into our family. I was 8 months pregnant when we moved that first fall. So now I can see why, everyone thought we were crazy. To us, we were just chasing a dream. It got a lot more challenging than we ever could have imagined in that first year, but it was total faith and belief. We didn't ever think it wouldn't work out. And as I said during that first fall, because our house wasn't done when we moved, so we lived in this dilapidated trailer, and then we spent our first winter actually living in the kennel with the dogs, because our house didn't get done before winter set in. So people often ask us about that, and I'm like, occasionally there was a day where I would question what we had done, or Hank would question what we had done, but we never both each questioned on the same day, thankfully. So days that I would have a rough time, he would be my rock, and days that he would be questioning our plan, I would be his rock. Because when you're building a big dream, a big goal, a big passion, a lot of people don't see what you see. And it's so valuable having at least one other person that does see what you want to do, because otherwise you start doubting that you can do it. So yeah, we went on pure faith, and we just started knocking on doors of businesses in our area. There was no dog sledding where we chose to move to. So there was a lot of interest with local resorts and accommodations. And, I remember most of them were like, oh yeah, we'd be happy to send our customers to you. But there was one who got it right from the start. And he was like, I'll be happy to send my customers to you. But I could see he was looking at it from a different angle. And he told us years later, he said, when you walked in our door, I knew we would send you customers, but I knew you would send me far more customers than I would ever send you. And now that's how it is. People travel from around the world to come dog sledding with us, and the first thing they say is, where can we stay? So it's been a journey. There's so much. I don't know what you want to unpack here, Rebekah. We'll go wherever you want to go, but it's been an amazing 25 years.
I'm really curious to know what success really means to you. As women, we play so many different parts as a partner, and being a mother, and being a business owner. And you're also mentioning so much about being a member of your community. What does success mean for you in particular?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for that. That is so kind and so sweet. And it's also, nice to hear that, right? Because we don't, as women and entrepreneurs, or we just kind of just do and do and never really, or not enough. We don't step back and we don't analyze, and we don't sit down and like, today was a good day. Like, we don't celebrate the little wins. So success, I think success means, it's changed a lot, right? For me personally, from being just a full-time, we spoke about before we kind of went on air, how you're a workaholic and you work up early and you go to bed late. That's exactly what I did. And I did that with food for years and 7 days a week. And, and for me, I thought that's what success was. I thought that it was just working 24/7. And then when you kind of step back, and then you're like, okay, what is success? Success is, yes, maintaining those relationships, making sure that your team is happy, that your team is fulfilled, that they have what they need. Make sure that your partners are well, checking in on them, but also making sure that your family and your family unit is fine, and that you're okay too. So it's creating that balance between all that entire kind of platform of life.
Okay, so I'll go back to being a child. So I had this thing on my mirror, and it said the only place success comes before work is in the dictionary, right? So that mindset, I started with that. So I know that anything I wanted, I had to work for. And sometimes I have to work harder than other people for whatever reason, right? Maybe I lack a skill, or maybe I lack a talent, or maybe I lack some information that someone else has. So my goal is to always make sure, I always want to be number one. right? And so you may say, wow, you're real competitive. I am, but it's not about it, but I'm only competing against myself, right? Like I'm my biggest component. I refuse to lose at anything I do, no matter what it is. So success to me is meeting my goals. Success to me is being task oriented. Success to me is doing what I say I'm going to do. Success to me is staying on track. Success is seeing other people around me happy and make sure that people, my family, can be gainfully employed if that's possible. But success has nothing to do with money for me. Success is about setting a goal, sticking to that goal, accomplishing, and sometimes even overachieving. So when people think that you're going to, I rather think you think I'm going to underdeliver and then I overdeliver, right? So I don't make promises, I just make it happen. So success for me is making sure that I stick to what I say I'm going to do. I've done it since I was a little girl, and I do it as a woman. So whatever I say I'm going to do, I'm going to do. So if you give me a task, it's going to happen. So be careful what you ask me to do.
What are you proud of the most in your journey?
I'm proud of Break Life, that the fact that my company gainfully employs my family. That's my biggest flex. Mm-hmm. That honestly is that I have a nephew that's married with 2 children, and he runs his household through the income from Break Life. I have a daughter with a fiance and a son, and she runs her household through the income from Break Life, and another son that's my top salesman. And so as a mother, to see your family work in a business that you created, and they're gainfully employed, they're not struggling, that brings a smile to my face every day. And also when I can look at my grandkids and my friends and I say, hey, what do you do? What do you do for a living? Why not do it for Break Life? So my grandson says, I want to be a lawyer. Hey, we pay a lawyer. We retain a lawyer. Hey, I want to be an insurance agent. Hey, we retain an insurance agent. Hey, so whatever you want to do, CPA, if you want to be in marketing, why not come do it for Break Life? And if we can match the industry standards as far as income and then have your friends and family work for you, come on now. Isn't that the greatest thing ever?
I think that concept of having it all is very different here in Spain than it is in the United States, particularly. One of the things that I absolutely love about this country, about Spain, is that work-life balance is a fundamental pillar of life here. So, for example, kind of what I think is the best example of this is when you meet someone for the first time in Spain, the first question you ask is, what is your name? The second question you ask is, what do you like to do? And that's how you get to know someone. Asking somebody what their job is considered pretty rude most of the time. And so it's not a question that you would ask sort of right when you meet someone. Whereas in the States, when I'm back, visiting family and friends, I get asked all the time, oh, what's your name? What do you do? What's your name? What do you do? And that's sort of how people define themselves. And in Spain, you talk a lot more about your passions and your interests and your hobbies than you do necessarily about your job. And so that concept of being able to have a work-life balance is built into society here, which makes it a lot easier to build it into our lives. Now, that being said, we own a small business in the tourism industry, so work-life balance is all relative, I think. Mm-hmm. Talk to us, the second week of May, and I'll be like, work what? What is life? Who are friends? Exactly. What is free time? What is sleep? But, as you've called us in February, February is a time when we can have a little bit more balance between those two things. What do you think, Margit?
I agree. I think that, people in Spain in general work really hard and take work seriously, but work has its place and life has its place. And so living in a country where people take their full paid time off very seriously and take the full amount every year, and it is significant because that is the way that people expect to live their lives, that you have your work and you have your free time, really influences kind of all of your decisions. Now, I think the expression, can you have it all? I think the answer is always no. I think all is a constantly evolving situation. What is all? Everything means something different to every person. I think being able to do a job that I really like and live in a city that I really love and have a lifestyle that gives me the opportunity to enjoy my work and have a, interesting life and feel good about, going to work every day, that to me is having it all. I know that that's not necessarily what everyone would think, but it feels pretty amazing to have the opportunity to live in an amazing place, have a really cool job, work with really awesome people, and get, at least part of my job be having to like go to restaurants and meet people and do research in bars, which is, sitting and eating and drinking. And so that to me feels like having it all. But I don't know that that's what I would have said when I started, and I don't know that that's what I'll say in the future, but it feels like if all can be an adaptive word, then it is possible, but it means, it means being honest with yourself about what that means.
I mean, obviously, we're celebrating our 25th anniversary of Winterdance, and we're incredibly proud of that, of, the lives we've touched and the people we've got to welcome. Our family, obviously what mom isn't incredibly proud of her kids, right? That just kind of goes without saying. And then, the things that where Winterdance has taken us. And that was one thing I would tell your listeners too, is, if you're at the start of your entrepreneurial journey, you have no idea where your business is going to take you. When we started 25 years ago, our goal was to start a dog sled tour company that, would sustain our family and create a great lifestyle. And we did that, but we could have never envisioned that we would write best-selling books and speak on stages all over the world. And, our dogs were in a movie last year, and my husband a stunt double, and we can't talk about it yet, but, all these just incredible things that we could have never, ever dreamed of happening 25 years ago, just because we said yes to chasing a business that allowed us to build a lifestyle around something we loved. So don't feel like you have to see everything all at once, because we sure didn't. And just, go as far as you can, and you'll see amazing things, and you just keep going as far as you can, and it just continues, and it'll be an incredible journey. So yeah, all of it is something we're very, very proud of having built and saying yes to that dream 25 years ago. Success to me is, a win-win all around. So is what you're doing making you fulfilled, making you happy? That has to be first, because if not, you're miserable. And if you're miserable, you can't put love and happiness and joy into the world if you're already coming from a place of miserableness. So that's number one. Are you joyful? Are you happy? Are you loving what you do? And then for the other one is, are you lighting up the people around you, your family, your customers, your partner, your friends? Because again, if you live in a place where you feel joy and you give joy, is there any greater success than that? I'd love to know who first came up with the phrase "have it all." In my mind, I would totally agree with it. You can have it all, but not probably all at the same time. Similarly, you can be at a concert, or, for me, field trips were huge. I never missed a child's field trip or an important pageant or concert. And that was those were non-negotiables for me. So the business worked around those events. But yes, do you give up some opportunities to be with your children? Possibly. Do you give up, being with your children at times for opportunities? Yes. But at the end of the day, if, in my mind, at least, if you feel like you've done the most important thing for that day, you have had it all, right?
Healthy, happy, loved ones, then you don't want to, that's your, you're happy, and that's successful to me.
What advice do you have to the women who are just like you, who are business owners, and they're also filling these roles in so many other places, and they're struggling to find success within themselves, as well as that balance in searching for success?
An advice that I would give, it's okay to say no sometimes. It's okay to say no. You can't do it all. Something will suffer if you're doing too many things at once, and we all want to do great, and we all want to succeed, and we want to say yes to everything, but sometimes it's just not possible. And especially now for me, being a mom, and with my time being limited, I'm not working 7 days, a week. So another advice, hire great people. Delegate. I think it took me, I know it took me a really long time in order to get there, in order to be able to delegate, to let go. And then once you let go, you're like, okay, things are not falling apart, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Don't expect anybody to believe in your dream. You have to believe in it from the time you wake up to the time you wake up again. Don't get upset for people for not believing in your dream. Don't get angry. Don't get sidetracked. Don't get, and don't become delusional. Whatever your dream is, it's yours and yours alone. And you have to live it. You have to take the wins and the losses. Whatever it is, once you believe in it, then you got to get up and put your cape on, and you got to go make it happen. Because no one else is going to believe in what you believe in. No one sees through your eyes. No one sees what you see. No one wants what you want. So you got to go get it. And then at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, then you're able to say, I gave it all I had.
I think for me, what I would say is just do it. To myself, I think my advice to my younger self would have been just do it. I think that our situation is a little bit different because we lived in Spain for quite a while before starting to launch the business. You know, I moved to Spain in my late 20s because I didn't know what else I wanted to do other than live in Spain. And so I moved to Spain. But I worked on other things, and I, figured out how to live in Spain and figured out, how to make a life here. And so I think the question of is like, are you going to drop everything and move to Spain and start a business? I don't know that I would recommend that to other people because it's a crazy thing to do. And I think that it sounds really fun to just like, eat, pray, love it out. And I know that that's something that can feel really exciting in the moment, but it's really hard to live in another country and make a life for yourself and find your way and find a path. And so I don't think that should ever be taken lightly. And so I think for us, we had that journey. But I would say if I could give any advice to myself or to any person who's thinking about how to do something or what to do something, not necessarily like abandoning their job and moving to another country and, starting something new. I think in general, the thing that one should do is do it. Like believe in yourself, believe in your powers, and figure out kind of how to make a realistic decision for yourself. But we're so much more powerful than we think we are. And we're held back by so much fear of the unknown, which is healthy, that's important. But I think we're much more powerful than we think we are. And so to really give yourself that space to be like, if there's something I want to do, I should do it and figure it out. I think I said both things, like don't do it and do it. But I do believe both of those things, like you should do it and also, figure out what works for you.
Understand it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Do it and understand that's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think that that's something, I have a lot of friends back in the States who are like, you're my favorite story to tell at a cocktail party or whatever. Like, yeah, my friend I went to high school with or college with moved to Spain and started a food tour company. And that's awesome. And it's awesome. I mean, I'm living the absolute best version of my life right now. And I know that. And I love that. And I wake up every day and I'm like, still this awesome life. And that's great. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean that it's not hard. And I think, everybody that you're going to talk to for this episode and everybody that you're going to talk to that started a business is going to tell you it's really hard because it is. But I think for me, what was surprising in starting Walk and Eat or in joining Margit with Walk and Eat is it was hard in ways that I never would have imagined it being hard. Like I knew the accounting was going to be hard. Like I don't know how to do accounting and I had to figure that out. And that was really hard. I don't know if I can swear on your podcast, but dear Lord, that was difficult. But the things that were really hard were sort of figuring out how much work is enough work is something that I struggle with. How many hours do I need to put in before I feel like I've done enough for today? Because what is enough? And there's no one above me to say that's enough or that's not enough. I have to decide that for myself. And that's something that I think I wasn't expecting when we started the company is because I have no boss and I'm responsible to Margit and to the guides and to the restaurants and to our clients. And that is a huge responsibility that, weighs on both of us, I think a lot. Mm-hmm. But I don't have someone that I'm reporting to who's, telling me these are your goals and this is how you achieve them. I have to come up with those goals and how I achieve them myself. And that allows me a lot of freedom, but it is also kind of a huge responsibility. And as someone who always wants more and yes, we can do more and yes, we can grow more and yes, we can sell more and yes, we can, have more things. It's really hard to sort of stop sometimes and be like, you know what? We did it. We did it for today. We did it for tomorrow. We're going to do more next week, but for right now, this is enough and this is good. And we killed it last week. So
one of our biggest lessons came out of one of my husband's first big 1,000-mile races, and he didn't get to finish that race. And we had dreamed of that race for 12 years. It cost us a fortune to do. It was very public that we were doing it. And so it felt like a huge failure when that didn't come through. And while, we would have never wished in a million years not to finish that race or to feel that pain and failure, it has been one of our greatest teachers, because what it's taught us is it's easy to say I failed, but the only way you really fail is if you give up, right? If you quit. Really, all failure does is teaches you a way that doesn't work. And so when you learn to reframe failure in that way, it doesn't sting so bad. It doesn't hurt so bad. It's just like, okay, that didn't work. Now we need to refocus, retry, find a new path to get there. And especially during COVID, that was one of the biggest messages we got hired to share with people, is that failure is short term. It's just a way that didn't work. That's all it is. But some of the things that, again, it's easy to say, I wish I hadn't have done that, but yet it's all stepping stones to where we are now. Yeah, and I struggled with that word for years until I just chucked the word out the window. I don't even try, because when you're trying to find balance, what I found is you feel like you're always failing, because you're either not putting enough into the business, or you're not giving enough to the kids, or enough to the dogs, or enough to paperwork, or whatever it is that you feel that you're letting down. So that word isn't in our vocabulary. It's not in our house anymore. And as soon as we stopped trying to find quote unquote balance, things just got much easier. So now my attention goes where I need it to go, where I intentionally each day set out where I want it to go. So there's blocks of time that I'm like, this is the kids' time, and there's other blocks that this is work time or the dog's time. But as far as trying to balance things, yeah, I don't even try. And I guess, as most business owners can say that they love their business and what they do. And I read a quote years ago, and I can't remember it verbatim. I wish I could, but it summed up basically that if you love what you do in your work, and if you're spiritually filled in your work and it makes you happy, and it also is part of your family, then you are so incredibly blessed, because really you don't work any part of the day. And because also your entire life is integrated. And that's how we feel it is with our business. I mean, yes, we work tons of hours, but most of our family or most of our children work with us. Our dogs are part of our business, but they're part of our family, and same as our staff. So really it's a blessing, to get to spend so much of your time doing what you absolutely love. And even if it wasn't your business, you would still do it. So yeah, that's how we deal with quote unquote balance around.
Just thinking back from when we came into the business and not knowing anything, I found the people who were some of the most experienced in the industry. I sat down with them and I talked to them as well. And I found out so much information from them, and beautiful people who are willing to help, new startup businesses or just new businesses in general. So I would seek out those people who are at top of the game and, just get into their minds, because, they are willing to help you. They want to see you do well. And, that would be definitely one of my words of advice for anybody, wanting to start up a new business.
Absolutely. I think mentorship is incredibly important.
Mentorship
I
is
don't think
amazing.
it's talked about enough either, how often, especially in this industry, I see it at our conferences all the time, about how tourism operators want to see other operators win. And whether that's through referrals, whether that's through a call. We have some clients who get on their own time, on their own volition, get together for monthly Zoom calls to just talk strategy and how's everyone doing and a pulse check. And I think that community and that mentorship is so important.
Yeah, so important. And it really helped me, I guess get to where we are today, just having that knowledge that I would have never had before. So yeah, definitely go out, grab a coffee and sit down and get as much information and knowledge out of them as you can.
What are you excited about? Maybe the expansion plans. What's next for you all?
Walk and Eat is the next thing for Walk and Eat is having more guides and having more capacity for us to be able to offer more tours. We would love to incorporate day trips, and so we're hoping to launch that at some time later this year, and maybe continuing to expand what we offer. Madrid sits in the middle of a really incredible area, and we would love to be able to bring folks out to wineries, out to olive oil makers, and really not just taste the food, but experience how it's made, which is so cool because people don't think that even though you're in this giant mega city of Madrid, less than an hour away, people are making incredible wine, incredible olive oil, incredible cheeses. And so thinking about ways to continue to evolve the ways that we connect people and grow our capacity and, just have more people on more tours and do more great stuff.
Perfect. Amazing. That's so exciting. And I literally, I'm like, okay, so they're launching these day trips. I got to get out to a Spanish winery. I can't picture any better way to spend an afternoon.
It's really fun.
That's because there isn't a better way to
no
spend
better
an
way.
afternoon. It is actually definitionally the best way to spend an afternoon is at a Spanish winery.
I think in general, I'm just really proud of where I've helped grow, get Spoon to. It's come from, I call it patio productions, like, which means like, patio productions, like, we kind of took it together without sort of any formal business plan. And here we are today, one of the top tourism companies in Puerto Rico, amazing reviews. We're able to employ great humans. We're able to partner with great restaurants and bars and farms and, give them business, shed a spotlight also on them and on their businesses. So I am in general just really proud of where we've come.
One of my goals is for Break Life to be a household name. I wanted to open up, at one point I wanted to open up in 12 cities, all throughout the United States in urban areas. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dial back and I'm going to open Break Life in the city where I was born and raised. So I'm a proud native of Detroit. I'm very excited about that. So I would love to open one in Detroit. And then once I leave Detroit, I want to go to Indianapolis and Atlanta, two other cities that are near and dear to my heart. So my goal is just to make sure that Break Life is not only a household name, but that we can change the paradigm about the angry person, the angry Black woman, the angry Black man, the angry woman. So eventually my goal is through research, through data, through sitting down and sitting at every table where I've never been welcome before, but now I belong, and to talk about destructive therapy, alternative therapy, and how it can change the world. And if you can't change the world at your house, come to Break Life, because we can change it there. Because our motto is, if it ain't broke, come break it.
So one thing in the last year that we've really focused on is social media influencers. I was hesitant going into it, I won't lie. But especially this winter, we have seen huge returns from it. Now, being that we're a fairly unique business, quite often when we reach out to them, they're very happy to do a trade. We take them and give them an experience that they don't pay for, and in turn they, do reels and stories and posts on their social medias. That has been the single biggest thing that we have done in the last 2 years that has really drove revenue. We also have dove into Google Ads, which we had never done until last year. Also seen huge returns on that. And I know we can get better. We're just pretty new at that. But those are thinking if there's anything else, but I think those are the two biggest things that we've pivoted the last 2 years that we've seen really, really good solid returns on.
Were you surprised at the success of the influencers? I know you said it's been 25 years of kind of evolving different things, working at different times, and it can be kind of intimidating to jump into that influencer space. Was it surprising to kind of see those returns?
I guess I was surprised a bit just because, to be honest, I'm not a huge social media fan. I guess because it's something that I don't really enjoy or like that much, I was like, I don't know if it was my own, bias that was kind of tainting where I thought it would go. But once we met the influencers and invited them, and, now that I think I'm like, well, it's kind of the same as how we built our business originally. It's just the media has changed, right? Instead of it being newspapers and magazines, which helped us grow 25 years ago, now social media is that new way to reach people. When you kind of look at it from that way, it does make sense, but I have to admit I was a bit surprised. And how fast it is crazy, right? I mean, where the old media might take a month or 2 months for that story to actually get out and do any good. Now it's like 24 hours or less, right? That story, that reel gets posted, and all of a sudden your website traffic blows up and bookings start coming in. So
I am just so grateful to have you on today. I'm grateful that you took the time out of your busy schedule to make time for this interview.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. I'd love for you to take a moment before we go to just plug the business. Where can people find you, your website, your Instagram, and then another shout out to where you're located?
All right, so we are located in Puerto Rico, the island of enchantment, and our business is called Spoon. You can find us at thespoonexperience.com, and also our Instagram handle is The Spoon Experience.
So Break Life is conveniently located at 5805 Central Crest Street. That's in Houston, Texas, and the zip code is 77092. And we're right in the heart of Houston, what you call the mix. In addition, we are on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is breaklife.houston. And just so people know, it's break, BREAK, life, LIFE.Houston. You can find us on Instagram. We have a lot of contests there. We have all of our information is there. And then our wonderful, amazing website. If you haven't had an opportunity to see it, designed by my daughter, go see it. It's phenomenal. It's actually top tier. And it is breaklifeexperience.com. So you can go to breaklifeexperience.com. That's our website. You can go to Facebook at breaklife.houston. You can go to Instagram, or you can come visit us. And then our phone number is 1-800-823-0453.
Absolutely. So we are walkandeatspain.com. We're Walk and Eat Spain on Instagram. We are Walk and Eat Spain on Facebook. I'm going to let you guess what we are on TikTok. Walk and Eat Spain. So you can find us on all of those things. But our website's probably the best place to check out the types of experiences that we do. We do both public and private tours. So whatever people want to know, just come to the website and find out.
So the website is just winterdance.com, pretty easy. And Instagram, Winterdance Dog Sled Tours. And of course, all of our booking goes through FareHarbor.
So we are Gold Coast Watersports. We're located in the beautiful surfers paradise on the Gold Coast in Australia. Come and jump on a jet ski tour, parasail flight, flyboarding. We're the only ones in Queensland who do the flyboarding. And then also jet boating as well. So if you're ever in Surfers Paradise, come and say hello.
Amazing. And what's your website?
Oh, our website is www. I don't know, you young people don't say that anymore, do you? So our website is just goldcoastwatersports.com. Our Instagram is watersportsgc. And yeah, they're the two social medias that we're on.
Thank you, Rebekah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. You have a great day.
Thank you, Rebekah. And thank you again for such kind and thoughtful questions. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Rebekah. It was wonderful getting to talk to you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Rebekah. Bye now.
Bye.
Thank you to all of our incredible guests for sharing their journeys, their challenges, and for their wonderful advice. Their stories remind us of the resilience, passion, and innovation that women bring into the tourism industry each and every day. We hope you're feeling as inspired as we are here at FareHarbor by these women. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to like, subscribe, and be sure to check out our guest businesses while you're at it. Until next time, I wish you a very happy International Women's Day, and I'll check you out on the next episode of Growth Powered by FareHarbor. See you later.